Industry Insider coming to you from Limes Hotel Rooftop for Bigsound 2013, and joining me, Ray Arn from the Hard-Ons. How are you, my friend?
Hi Ben, how are you?
Good. Thanks for waiting. I lost you in the building here, so you've been here a bit longer than you should have. So I appreciate you hanging around.
No, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's these things happen. I'm sure it's happened before to you in many press interviews in the past.
Yeah. Normally it's my fault.
Yeah. Did you catch up on you caught up on the morning news?
I was reading sydneymorningherald.com.au.
Yeah.
And then I read too many articles and they asked me to pay.
Yeah, right.
So I was about to log off and you came and grabbed me.
Yeah, good. All right, that's good. Now, first, well, it's the first day for Bigsound in a new type of way because it's a Tuesday, which it usually doesn't start on a Tuesday, but they've got music and design this year, and you're on a panel. It's DIY.
Yeah, do it yourself.
Yeah, music and what is it? Music versus the world, I think it was. And then there's Paul Curtis was explaining the title to me. It's quite lengthy.
Yeah, I think do it yourself versus the world. It's called. It's exploring the possibility of a totally different ideology to the rest of the music industry to make your bands and your projects work.
Yeah.
And one of the things about it is exploring the possibility of drawing a line in the sand between the mainstream industry and then doing everything yourself. So what seems like cutting a lot of corners, for example, doing your own artwork and doing your own layout for your CDs and doing most of the things yourself, it seems like cutting corners, but it's actually a completely different ideology to what mainstream happens. Yeah. So we'll be discussing that.
Well, I mean, I don't think. I mean, there probably are people as qualified, but I think the panel that's been put together is about as qualified as you can get in Australia for that specific subject type. I mean,
who else is on there?
Ben and Quiet.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You got Paul there. Yes. Yourself there.
Yes.
Celeste Potter.
Where's she from?
I believe Celeste does video.
Okay.
Music videos. And Johnny, and forgive me, Johnny, if you do watch this, I can't remember Johnny's last name, but I believe he just did the artwork for Dirty Pop Fantasy that was released on Friday for Regurgitator, the new record. So,
all right, okay.
It's going to be an interesting panel.
Right, okay, yeah it'll be fun. Yeah, I think so.
Now tell us a bit more about your career. Hard-Ons, obviously, but you're also quite an established artist in many ways, as far with your exhibitions and things like that overseas.
I wouldn't really call it established. That's probably propaganda that
you don't think so?
My manager sent out.
Yeah.
I'm self-managed.
Yeah.
So if you juxtapose it with the mainstream industry, I'm a complete obscure unknown, and I don't even know why I'm here. Yeah. Other than when I get there, I'm just gonna drink the rider dry.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not getting paid for it. They put me in a good hotel, but I had to pay for my own cab to the hotel. So I'm just going to make. How much did it cost me? I think it'll cost me all up about $200 worth of cab rides from my house to Sydney Airport, and then from Brisbane Airport to the hotel, and then Brisbane Hotel to the Brisbane Airport, and then from Sydney Airport to my home. It'll cost about $200. So today my main job is to drink and eat $200 worth of food that they're going to put out for me.
Okay. That sounds like a plan. I can probably help you out with a couple of beers there.
Come along, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I feel like a bit of a stooge and an interloper because I've got Nick Cave and what's that woman from
Julie
TV?
Zamero.
Yeah, celebrities, you know.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, to be serious, you can have a good career doing this stuff using a completely different ideology, not relying on anybody. So, as I said before, it just seems like you're cutting your own corners. But what I do with my bands and my art is to rely on absolutely nobody, to collaborate with nobody and just do everything ourselves. Yeah. And so a lot of it's, you have to have a fair bit of get up and go, obviously. And but we've got my band and my art has such a small, tiny little niche market sewn up that We don't really have to promote ourselves too much. People know who we are. So I think what we have to do is just basically work out how many fans we've got. And it's, if you're Nick Cave and you're sitting in your hotel room and you're going, how many fans do I have? It could be in the millions. Mm-hmm. And if you're Julia, what's her name?
Zamero.
Yeah, she's got a career in this entertainment industry, and she says, oh, I wonder how many fans I've got. It's probably, maybe not as big as
a couple of 100,000 maybe.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess it's her job to try and make $1 from each one of those people.
Yeah.
Now, I think the Hard-Ons, for example, my band, we might have 5,000 people who are interested. So all I have to do is get a couple of bucks off them. But the people who are still our fans, we just have to make sure that we don't lose their attention.
Yeah.
And constantly put stuff out and constantly get money from them.
Yeah.
And with the internet, it's been made a lot easier. We don't have to advertise, for example, in magazines and fanzines like we used to. So it's been made a lot easier. So it's almost like a parallel universe with the rest of how the industry works. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of obviously overlapping techniques and so forth, but on the whole, some of the things that we do is completely unthinkable. We give things away. You know, we would go and get sponsorship from a guitar shop and ask them to give us an $800 guitar for putting up the banner. And then we'd give that guitar away. Mm. And by doing it that way, the whole place is packed full of people wanting to see the band and try and get this guitar for free. We haven't spent 1 cent on advertising, and it's sold out.
Yeah.
You know, like if you do a street press in Brisbane or Melbourne, for example, in one of those those fold-out magazines, like in Sydney, we've got this thing called Drum Media, for example. It costs hundreds of dollars. For that amount of money, you can put out a CD and just tell people, if you come to our gig, everyone will get a free CD of unreleased stuff. Mm. The shows are sold out, and you've given them something, and you haven't actually had to spend any money on advertising. It goes to the fans. So the do-it-yourself ethic is to facilitate a direct line of communication between the band and the fan without any sort of middleman. And that includes stuff like sitting behind the merchandise table yourself and selling it. It's a lot harder, but I just can't imagine Powderfinger sitting behind the merch table selling their own stuff, or the bass player going, oh geez, I've got to come up with a record cover, and sitting there and drawing something. They probably pay people to do that.
I would imagine so, yeah.
But having said that, if I was in Powderfinger, I wouldn't do anything. I'd just sit on my ass. And you know what I mean? I'd just have showers in champagne every day and get everyone to do things for me. That's what I would do. Mm. So what I'm saying is the whole idea of do-it-yourself, as glamorous and spiky as it sounds, is actually been forced upon people like myself through design because we don't have a choice. Because we can't afford to do anything other than do it yourself. It's a nice, touchy-feely kind of a thing, do it yourself, because a lot of the punk bands from the 70s did it, and it was very successful, and they came up with a lot of unique designs. For example, people were cutting out bits of newspaper clippings and gluing it onto things, and like collage and that kind of stuff, which is a million miles away from expensive paintings that people used to use for record covers and stuff like that. But a lot of it was forced upon them by lack of funds. So do-it-yourself isn't as glamorous and wonderful as it sounds. It's also something that's forced upon bands. But a lot of bands really embrace it.
Yeah.
A lot of bands just won't. A lot of people that I know, play in bands that are actually even smaller profile than the Hard-Ons, and they've got this idea that they're going to become like millionaires. They're going to, we're going to be on TV and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, mate, what's going to happen until you become millionaires? You still have to work really hard. No, they're just waiting to break out.
Yeah. And
you're going, well, I don't know about you. The last time I checked, the role of the Foo Fighters has already been taken by the Foo Fighters, and you think, God. So I think do-it-yourself is a really, really good technique for a lot of bands out there, but a lot of people don't want to embrace it, of course.
Yeah, I think also it's it really does expand out away from the bands in all sorts of facets of the music industry these days. There's a lot of people, little DIY PR companies and little DIY record labels.
Yeah.
It's I think you're seeing more and more of it, and possibly this is why the music and design has become a part of Bigsound now. Because it really is something that can't be ignored.
I think a lot of excuses don't exist anymore. For example, because of the internet, you don't have an excuse. You can actually do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are a lot of problems with that because everyone else has the same tool. So you're still competing with a million other people. But if you sit down and have a band meeting by yourself and go, how are we going to tackle this? And come up with a plan, work out who their target market is, and really focused upon them and how we're going to impress these people and how many people are there. And how we're going to impress them, and how much do we think we can make from each of them, and what is the overall profit margin from one thing that we sell to them, and how do we cut the corners so that when we send things out, it's cheaper. If you sit down and do that, then do-it-yourself could become a really good ideology to embrace.